Hello, it's Mandy again with The Chase at Frequency FM. My question, raise your hand if you wrote your own creativity manifesto. I'm just kidding, I can't really see you. But did you? Did you take the time to do that and to think through your why and your what and your how? That's part of the chase. That's part of living our creative dream and using our gifts and talents. It's good stewardship, y'all. Okay, and so today we're going to continue to talk about the chase, and we are talking about how to make the most of your creative time, how to be intentional with your creative time. Because here's the thing. We are all so busy, we probably don't even get a lot of creative time, and when we do, we can't afford to just sit down with our guitars or sit down with our writing software or however, whatever we're doing. We can't afford to sit down with that and then just not have the creativity flow, not have the inspiration strike. We just don't have time. So what can we do to trigger that creativity? What can we do to make the most of that time and to not necessarily guarantee, but make it more likely that your creative time will be productive, that you will move forward on some things. So that's what we're talking about today. And what we want to talk about is learning how to literally trigger creativity in your brain. Not only that, but build a sort of a lifestyle that fosters your creativity and that nurtures and protects your creativity instead of draining your creativity. So let me ask you a question. Do you have anything that you like to do during your creative time? Like, do you have your own creative space, or do you have this particular coffee shop that you go to when you write, or do you have for me, I have painting clothes, and that's what, when I go and paint in my studio, as soon as I put on my painting clothes, it's just the routine of walking through that really triggers my brain, and it says, okay, let's get to creating. These different triggers make the creative process automated. Can we talk about Pavlov, where they ring the bell and his dogs started salivating? I know it sounds awful, but we are mammals. We're animals. Our brains have a lot of the same systems. And so find some bells, find some triggers and use them, have a lot of them and use them, and your creative juices will start flowing, just like those dogs' saliva. Forgive me for using that example. That is kind of gross if you think about it. Okay. So these are some things that you can do. You can have your specific creative clothes. You can have a special area, a tea or a coffee or a particular drink that you use during your creative time. You could always start your creative time with a walk outside. Anything that is a physical trigger. You can spend some time sketching or doing a quick writing of something, just to get your brain into that gear. And this is something that you return to again and again and again at the start of your creative process. Now, I don't know if y'all know about 99U, but they are a great creative resource, and they wrote an article that talks about the characteristics that make for a great creative trigger. Okay, these characteristics are, they're unique. It's something that it's either one thing or a combination of things that don't go with any other activity. Because if it is associated with another activity, the effects are going to be diluted. For me, I wear my paint clothes when I'm painting. I try not to wear them out in public because they look so ratty. But that is changing into my painting clothes is a distinct turn that is only associated with time in my studio. Another thing you can do is the trigger involves emotional intensity. It's related to the intensive feelings that we have when we're doing our creative work. Music is emotional, so music can have that intensity. Dancing is emotional. It can be intense. It's just something that might trigger your creative emotions. And then also, the trigger needs to be repetitive. It needs to involve repetition. The more you do this, the more your brain will learn to associate this trigger with your creative flow. So you repeat this every time you start your songwriting. You sit down and start your songwriting. You light a particular candle, or every time you start working on something that you're writing about, you put in a particular soundtrack. Something that you can repeat over and over and over again, and it will associate with the emotions. And the more you do it, the stronger the association will become, and the quicker it will trigger your brain. Okay, and your brain will learn to respond to that. It literally will learn to say, "Okay, it's time to go," because we can teach ourselves, just like Pavlov's dogs. Um, you can train your brain. You can use this rule to help you, really. So how do other people work their creative days? Not just those tiny triggers, but the whole day. How do we shape our day to foster and nurture our creativity? Y'all probably know about Austin Kleon. Kleon. Oh, gosh, that sounds so much better. Austin Kleon. There we go. He's the guy who wrote Show Your Work, and he is and Steal Like an Artist, and he is he makes creativity look easy, really. But he does have a routine, and in fact, he was talking about that recently. It struck me. This is what he says about his daily creative routine. Hopefully, he's out in his garage. That's his workspace. He's in his garage by 10 a.m. and then he's there until around 5 o'clock. And during the time, he's following John Waters' creative routine. You can look up John Waters as well, but just being intentional about your use of time. So Austin, and this is what John Waters says: you make stuff up in the morning and sell it in the afternoon. It makes sense. Most people, or a lot of people, are very creative in the mornings, and so they devote their morning time to the ideas, the imagination, the brainstorming and the making, and then in the afternoon you spend your time in communications and in connecting and things like that, so that in the administrative side. So your day is balanced and there's a routine to it. You know what's coming, and you're working with the ebb and flow of your life. Does that make sense? And yes, I do also have a routine that I follow as best as I can. Although life has its own ideas for my days sometimes. But I wake up very early in the morning. I wake up around 5:30, and I have my Mandy time. I have my coffee and my journal, and breakfast usually is somewhere mixed in with this quiet time. And I also spend some time reading and thinking and brainstorming and generating new ideas. I'm very fresh in the early morning. And not only that, but the world is quiet. Nobody's demanding anything. The kids aren't up. My husband, if he is up, he's running or having his own time. And so that early morning routine is a very, very important time for me. And then after that, I sort of follow the same pace in my day as Austin does, where I do a lot of my projects, my creative projects in the morning. And then in the late morning to early afternoon, I spend my time in marketing and in admin and in just some of those more routine. Let's not confuse those words. Some of the stuff that involves less creativity, and it's a good balance for me. It's a good balance for my energy as well. And then after that, in the mid afternoon, I roll into being a mom and doing all the things of being a mom and being a wife and having a family. And then the evening eventually quiets down, and I am very intentional about my evening time. About an hour before my bedtime, I start to wind down, softer lighting, not a lot of noise in videos, because the whole blue light thing. I have to be really careful to invest in my sleep schedule, and because it's costly when I don't get enough sleep. So my evening routine is equally important, and it really, really helps me. So yeah, I have that predictable lifestyle, and I need my creative energy to be saved for the process of creating. I don't like it when I have to spend a lot of my creative energy on adapting to change, and when life can get chaotic or hectic. What's next? That takes away a lot of my creative energy. So having that daily routine that is set and predictable, it It protects my creative energy so that I can apply it to the projects instead of applying it to the chaos and the crazy that's happening in life. So that's the benefit of having a routine in your day. And I know that, we have different jobs, we have different commitments and activities. And for a lot of us, we're piecing our creative time into the weekends or into the evenings or into the early mornings, and we don't get those big stretches. And for us, the most important thing you can do is use those creative triggers, because if your creative time is rare, then you really need that Pavlovian bell to ring to get your creativity flowing. So the most important thing you can do is use those triggers to help yourself with that limited amount of creative time that you have. So those are my ideas for you, and I think that if you want to dig deeper into this, there are a couple of resources you can look at. There's a website called Info We Trust. It's one word, infowetrust.com, and they actually have these circles that are almost like a 24-hour clock that illustrates how other creative people, what their routines look like through their day. It's very interesting to see. A lot of people are creative in the mornings and social in the evenings, various amounts of sleep, things like that. But it's very interesting to see how people organize their 24 hours with their own creativity. There's a couple of apps you can look at. O-Waves will also help you organize your day, kind of in the same circle where you can sort of piece through what you want your 24 hours to look like. And then there's another app called Lift app, and I've used this personally to track daily habits. If there's something you want to do every day, like your early morning routine wants to have this and this and this and this, you set up the Lift app to list them, and you check them off every day, and it has the information, and it'll tell you how you're doing, how many days in a row you've performed your new habit, and how you need to get back on track. So the whole point is train your brain, find triggers to help you get in the creative state, and also do the best you can to control the daily routine that you have, so that you do have regular and predictable lifestyle, that you do foster your sleep schedule, and that you do have regular creative time that you can work with. So chasing creative triggers and chasing creative routines, and that is what we're talking about today. And good luck with that, and I would love to hear from any of you if you're using those things and you're finding it to work. And yeah, thanks for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time.